Welcome, welcome, welcome. Within, let everybody feel welcome arising. Everything that we feel right now, that's what it is today. Perfectly, beautifully, including the not so wanted bits. Just natural breath and energy. And yeah, just being here together. So good to be with you. Great. What a beautiful intent everyone has. Here we are on behalf of all beings, for real. Us getting together here, not a small thing. And so we we just really start from our practice paying more and more attention throughout our life. You know what? What is the origin of my presence right now? Where am I coming from? And am I like am I like stuck in thought, in emotion, in time, in duality? So it gets the unveiling of our skylike nature gets it deepens over more and more. So the skylike nature shining always perfectly, and then even the subtle little clouds, little vapors in the atmosphere start dissolving, and um, so awakened awareness always shining. And I in our group we use awakened awareness and Rigpa interchangeable. So sometimes we use Rigpa for the playfulness and a wink to our uh, historic kind of lineage flow that we sit in. And also, I sometimes use metacognitive capacity, and it sounds a little heavy but at the same time, there's a sharpening of that. Um, it's kind of a self, or even beyond self, assessing awareness, right? It's these like that's what we realize when we become meditators. So there's agency, there's a witness that arises, right? Here, and now I have I know I'm arising prior at first, actually post at first. Oh, we're stuck in whatever stream of consciousness we're in, and there is the metacognitive capacity. It's maybe the witness, but it also has an intentionality. It can, so at first it witnesses, and then it goes like, oh yeah, I better keep my light shining. So I looked it up in Webster. It said explicit awareness of itself or oneself, and then it says a later arising. But for us as meditators, it can be prior. So then that we say like it's arising, everything is arising in the sphere of brilliant awakened awareness. So then we use the metaphor like a thief coming in an empty house. There are no seductive qualities anymore, and we don't let the thief of distraction um, seduce us into all the stories of who we think we are not. So it's self-assessing and self-correcting in response to the self-assessment. Okay. So if this is all a little heavy for your early morning before breakfast flow, just let's take a breath together and just open up into that. Self-assessing sounds a little too particularizing. Just this open awareness that knows. That's where we always use clarity and luminosity. It shines the light of knowing on everything that arises. So then as soon as we have that metacognitive overview, then we can set the intent like I open the intent from not just mindful of my thoughts, feelings, emotions, and perceptions, but opening up into a more boundless awakened awareness, into indeed more and more it becomes metacognitive capacity becomes quicker and more frequent. And then every time that happens, we just the intent, because shifting into awakened awareness is not a doing, right? So it's actually a dropping and flopping, right? So mm, allowing allowing it to shine. So awakened awareness is a not doing, it's not conceptualizing, and it's self-releasing, self-liberating. So then awareness starts awakening to itself by itself. And it's not localized, it's not behind the eyes or in the body or confined by anatomy or stuck in conceptual space and time. So just kind of let these words kind of go, but kind of this shimmer from there, just open up. Not waiting to get really serious about your meditation once we say a little prayer and maybe the, the, in, in, the guidance is a little bit more meditative. Just right now, right there. Just set the intent, here I am. And if it feels like I am right now, beautiful, beautiful. Buddha in the world, the, the Buddha in the world. And she sings first, I am, here I am. And then she wakes up, and then, what can I be for you? It's that simple. And there it is. The view, the meditation, and the fruition. The fruition is, what can I be for you? And then it all happens by itself, right? Self-releasing. Just feel that right now. Just like liberation is just like a beautiful stream in the meadow that is just opening up. Just our freedom is always shimmering right there. And then indeed, when we habituate the arising of that metacognitive capacity, and with the practice, we can shift into awakened awareness more and more. And then we start remembering the feeling of it. It has an actual sensation. It has a sensation in the body. And we sometimes don't always realize that. Sometimes we gaze into the sky and it has a certain body sensation with it. And then we can look into the inner sky also, and there too is a body sensation. And when awakened awareness is arising, there's another body sensation, maybe ultimately all kind of the same. This the subtleties, we as meditators, we discern that clearly. And then this body sensation becomes somewhat of a beacon. Not the only beacon, but it's sometimes I can feel my body wakes me up. It's like my body goes, hey, 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 remember. Remember to open up into freedom of heart and mind. And then we can stop trying to figure out what it is that we are. It's only something we can be. And then we sit here and we become the answer. We become the answer to world peace. So welcome, world peace, on your seat. So grateful for this family of loving intent. And then with the practice of paying attention deeply to our truest and deepest essence, by resting in the knowing of being, or resting in our true nature, then over time there's a blossoming and an understanding that goes deeper than the intellectual level and takes a seat in the heart. And there's that embodiment that actually takes a seat in the heart. We could call this the embodiment of the infinite wholeness, the boundless wholeness. And then the limitations of vocabulary taking a seat. It's just like maybe more recognizing its seat because it never really left in the first place. You cannot really become that which you already are. So just rest, but vivid and present. And then open and spacious. So right now already open up a little bit, or as much as you wish. Just dissolve a little bit the boundaries of maybe any localization of a local awareness, or being kind of stuck behind the eyes. And then indeed, if you wish to kind of have a more of a somatic gateway, an embodiment gateway, allow awareness to sink a little bit into the heart space. And from there it pops out into an openness easier than from up in the skull. And then when we hold our minds open and spacious, all our experiences are as harmless as a gentle wind blowing throughout boundless space, boundless open space. And even if it's a hurricane blowing through space, it cannot harm space. It just flows right through it. So anything that arises flows right through it. Just let anything flow right through it. And even if it's a wind often repeats, if it just keeps repeating, a little bit of that psychological historic narrative, just hold it in open space lovingly. So then we are in the flow of spacious liberation. And then everything that appears in our mind is a friend. And then the transformation happens. Then everything that arises has the liberating flow of primordial wisdom. And then ultimately everything is recognized as the flow of primordial wisdom. Anything that's arising in our, let's say, bursting into being, manifest universe is arising for the benefit of the awakening of all beings. And then the phrase I often like to say, you heard me say, always, Tulku Urgent always says, he says clearly, there's just one thing to be understood. Just knowing this one, all is liberated. Sustaining awareness that knows its own nature. And then we realize it's open, spacious, and boundless. And then I was just talking about that. In that spaciousness, there's the continuous flow of liberation. Just notice your heart and mind right now being, I am the presence of liberation of all beings. Just consciousness pondering consciousness. Just consciousness allowing the flow of consciousness. Recognizing its own knowing clarity, luminosity, its knowing capacity, and the knowing of all that dances and arises and appears within it. A co-arising dance of knowing and playfulness, knowing and appearance. And whatever appears today, welcome, welcome, welcome. That's our meditation. Welcome. Welcome to me here on this seat. Sonye chodang soki choknam la, jangchu bardu dakni kyapsu chi, daki jin soki pe sonam ki, Dwala penshir sangye drupa shok. In Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Spiritual Community on this Zoom call, we go for refuge until fully enlightened. By the power of all six perfections, from generosity to non-dual wisdom, for the sake of all beings, may we realize beautifully awakened, luminous, loving Buddhahood. In the empty and open, liberating essence, the radiantly lucid, playful nature, and the manifesting, compassionate, loving responsiveness of the Buddha on your seat, we take refuge by recognizing and resting in this threefold innate Buddha-ness that is the true nature of mind. May all beings possess happiness and the inner causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the inner causes of suffering. May all beings remain undivided from the sacred joy which is free from suffering. May all beings come to rest in great peace and equanimity beyond attachment and aversion to friends, enemies, or strangers. Origin yulji nup jahang tsam pe mai ge sardong pola yatsen choki nu drup ne pe mai jung ne jesu drak kor du kandro mang po kor ki jesu dar drup ki jinji lap shir shek su sol Gu pe mai sudi hung. Origin yulji nup jang tsam pe mai ge sardong pola yatsen choki nu drup ne pe mai jung ne jesu drak kor du kandro mang po kor ki jesu dar drup ki Jinji lap shir shek su sol Guru pe mai sudi hun. One more time. I want us to shift to the Dujam Rinpoche's melody, which he heard in his dream. Origin yulji nup jang tsam pe mai ge sardong pola yatsen choki nup drup ne pe mai jung ne jesu drak kor du kandro mang po kor ki jesu dar drup ki jingi lap shir shek su sol guru pe mai sidi hung oma hung oma hung oma hung oma hung ben zagu pe mai sidi 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 hung Oma hung ben zagu pe my city. The sounding dissolving into the same space in which all the sounds and sights and feelings and emotions arise and dissolve, arise and dissolve. But unlike regular space, this space has a knowing quality, luminous. And now the profane, the mundane, and the sacred all arise as sacred, magical, amazing wisdom and love. Amazing wisdom and love, sacred, luminous, is my true nature. My meditation is sitting in the recognition of that. Semnine Laktoparjindi Laptuso. Please bless us that we may come to recognize the nature of mind, the natural state. to allow your true nature to appear or be revealed. There is nothing to do. Just be. Do nothing, be everything. Just being aware and kind and caring deeply. This boundless interconnected space of being always right with us. Always right with us. Recognize that this awareness does not come and go. It does not fluctuate in time. Like a inside-out bubble of awareness in the ocean of awareness. A bubble without periphery. Let's take a breath together. Recognize your boundless nature. Open up in all directions. A knowing space that saturates absolutely everything. Letting things come and go. Don't set the view up too tight. Allow things to come. Allow them to come, don't engage, and let them dissolve. Just sensing this arising witness as a great expanse of freedom. All thoughts are awareness. All emotions and feelings are awareness. All sights and sounds, awareness. And noticing that the sensation that arises of knowing our own knowing capacity and the sensation of knowing whatever arises is the same. That could be kind of a gateway into the non dual experience. An experience beyond experience. So there is this constant co-arising of appearance, whatever appears in our minds and hearts, and and the knowing, the knowing capacity. As Ken Wilber said, the real world is not given to us twice. It has one taste. It's not cut in half by a seer and a scene or subject and object fragmentation. is kind of a singular of which the plural is unknown from this perspective. Let's take a breath together. So allow an ocean view to arise in your mind, in your beautiful creative mind. Just like sitting on a sand dune overlooking the beautiful ocean, the light shimmering on the water. And then notice there is the image arising in the mind. And I know the image is arising. And I know that I know. And then notice that the sensation of the knowing of the image of the ocean and the sensation of the knowing of the knowing of the knowing of awareness, of being aware is one and the same. Yeah, sensation is limited vocabulary, so limited sometimes. Maybe essence. Just pointing out that there is no differentiation between the essence of the object arising and the essence of the knowing, the witnessing capacity. You can allow the scene to fade unless you're enjoying being creative deliberately. Letting things come and go freely. And if you are becoming a little bit too distracted, just take a breath and maybe allow indeed some deliberate mind wandering. That's why in the tantric tradition we deliberately allow a loving, sometimes wrathful, but loving in the long run, archetype or deity to arise over our heads. And maybe now, as a deliberate mind wandering, we again let arise the wish for all beings to be liberated, be free, to know this boundless this boundless wholeness, this boundless heart and mind. Just sitting here as a shimmering nodule in this interconnected sea of beings, this interconnected indra's net of compassion. May every expression of my breath and energy be for the benefit of world peace. And then Ken Wilber writes, in the vast expanse of all space, in this simple one taste, the wind does not blow on you, it blows within you. The sun does not shine on you, it radiates from deep within your very being. And when it rains, you are weeping, and you can drink the Pacific Ocean in a single gulp and swallow the universe whole. Supernovas are born and die all within your heart, and galaxies swirl endlessly where you thought your head was. And it is all as simple as the sound of a robin singing on a crystal clear dawn. May you all continue to find this shimmering freedom within more and more frequent and for longer duration, and ultimately open up into the everlasting Buddha mind of freedom. And as always, on behalf of all beings, thank you so much for your beautiful practice. Really. Gewa di nudu dak jokpa chempo dup yurnye doa chikyang malupa dei sala gopar shuk. Through this virtue may we swiftly realize and fully embody the natural great perfection, and that will bring all without exception to its complete realization. Jung chup sem chok rinpoche makepa nang kieg yorchik kiepa nyam par me padyang gong ne gong du pelva shuk. May the pure, brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion unstoppably until all are illumined and awakened. May all beings everywhere, with whom we're inseparably interconnected and who want and need the same as we do, may all be awakened, liberated, happy, healed, fulfilled, and free. May there be peace in this world and throughout all realms of existence, an end to war, violence, poverty, injustice, and oppression. And may we all together complete the spiritual journey, hand in hand, heart to heart, all the way home. You beautiful awakening wonders. There you are. Thank you so much. For real. So if you're moving on to your day, have a beautiful day. If you wish to hang a little, we talk for till about 10 minutes past 9 or something about how our meditation is going and how it's reflecting on our life. So if anything came up in this practice or in your week or in your meditation or anything that has to do with the way we keep our minds in this large sangha, please tell us a little bit of how it's going.
Hi there.
Hi there. Hi, Terry.
I'm just going to say one little thing that I hope it sticks with me. But I loved the concept when you said just allow it to fizzle. That's such a great way to frame stuff that's always passing through, right?
Right.
Just let it fizzle. I love that. So thank you.
You just fizzle along. Just don't get seduced into the negative bias of it when it's fizzling without a nanny or whatever. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. And it's like the we kind of always this is what we always say. We just do different words. So today you hear fizzle and go like pop. Oh, there it is. It's like all right, the perfect word arising at the perfect time. And nothing special about that word, but the magical word for you.
Yeah, yeah. But it's going to be something I can remember when all that stuff is going on, you know? The let go somehow doesn't ever come, but let it fizzle. That's going to work out.
We just keep throwing profound healing crap at the wall and see what sticks. There it is.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
I liked your pointing out instruction today. I guess one taste, what like don't like whatever. But I thought I wrote it down. Don't set the view up too tight. Allow things to come. Like you had like quite a dramatic pause there, and then you said, "Don't engage. Let them dissolve, but let them come." Where like that, I think can be a tricky, uh, because that's where maybe it's the super ego, whatever it is, can be like, oh, don't think that you're a bad person, all the judgy,
Yeah.
so that was really like, let it come. You don't have to be afraid of that. Let it fizzle, right, Terry? Let it fizzle.
Yes. Let it.
Anyway, I just wrote that down today, so as
All
a
right.
Timo quote.
All right. Send it over to me so I can remember
I
it.
will send it over to you.
So yeah, it's also the attachment a little bit to what Dan Brown calls getting attached to uh, the cosmic blissy hot tub, right? We got good at that. We just like, I'm all that. Yeah, that's great. And
Yeah,
at first, yeah, that's great. I mean, as yogis,
right.
it's great to recognize that and play with it. But then at some point, you're getting attached to it. You're the one that discerns when that is happening. And then it's simple. You just set up the view a little less tight and allow things to come and go as the instruction always the ultimate instruction is of track shot or these the flow of spacious liberation.
Like not a lot, like it's creating a bypass when you put up that, in a way.
Yeah,
If you
that's the
don't allow it to come, that's a bypass too.
and then
Yeah.
ultimately then from the flow of allowing things to come and go we clearing out our storehouse consciousness or our historic psychological narrative or it gets healed by allowing it to flow and so we don't engage it but I did hear I think it was Tilka Urgent it needs to be recognized a little if it's if especially when it's a repeating kind of nearly a bit of a pathology of our psychology that just
Mhm.
keeps repeating. So having it recognized a little before it goes is okay. You,
Right.
you decide when you are engaging it too much, right? Now I'm getting attached again to this. Yeah. it's that's a bit tricky right there, and I was
Right. Your instruction was so subtle with that, but it was really like at the heart of the tendencies, I think.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'd like to weigh in here a little bit on keeping with the same thing of just letting it happen and open. But I think I missed the visualizing the ocean in the sitting. So there I'm actually trying to do something where it's not just letting it go. So there you had some purpose that I missed out on. Why is that just to focus better or block things out or I'll let it go. That's my question.
Um, your audio was a little garbled, but I think you asked me
Okay.
if I'm asked people to have a visualization of the ocean, to have a focus point, not to be distracted. Is that what you said?
Yes, first, yes.
Yeah.
What was, yeah,
No,
okay.
not in this case. Not in this
Okay.
case. In this case, I just wanted I wanted people to have a visualization to, so number one, to notice that I have this knowing boundless space in which I can let visualizations arise. And it's the same of the whole universe and perceptions that comes in, but I let the visualization arise, and then I noticed that this, I was saying, the sensation of the no, I when I recognize that I'm visualizing something, there's like this sensation that I know it, right? I know that I see this visualization, and there is also kind of a folding back into the knowing of the knowing. I'm really playing with subtle stuff here, right? And then we realize that that sensation is the same sensation. And then sensation is a little bit of course, it has an embodiment, but it's more than an embodiment. So it goes beyond the word sensation. So then I tried essence and then forget words, but I just want to show the non-dual kind of similarity of like the, folding back into the knowing capacity and opening up to the boundless creativity. Kind of playing with things here.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, obviously, yes, we can use visualizations or actual objects in our space, literally around us, to as an anchor. That's more of a mindfulness practice, and then we putting muscle on non-distraction by more and more like not being distracted too much. So yes, that is definitely something, but that was not my intent today with the visualization. But if that is a byproduct, great.
You'll take both.
Oh yeah, I take any measure of healing.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Timo, I'd wanted to actually talk about that very part of the sit today where I thought it was really fascinating to notice that embodied. So I get a sense, right? So we're calling up this visualization, and then we know that we're seeing this visualization, and there is almost a subtle like puffing up of pride, like, hey, I know that I'm seeing that, right? Like it's a little bit of this embodied, like, yeah, yeah, right on, Tina. And then you said it's the same feeling as like the next step, right? Of knowing that we're knowing.
Yeah.
To me, I noticed a subtle, not the same feeling that
Uh-huh.
was ever so slightly more constricted, which was a fascinating insight that there's a little bit of doubt. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, but you don't really. But it's really, really subtle. Do you know what I'm saying?
I'm
Can you,
sure. Yeah.
is that
Yeah. I think that is like a real subtle fail of a limiting belief,
right?
right?
But that was interesting to me that there was that, oh, there's a limiting belief in there. That was super cool to be in the embodied sense that gave me that knowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, because
definitely.
it was
Beautiful. Yeah.
it was a little bit like, yeah, yeah, look at this. Yeah, I can feel that. And then ah, like I don't know how to explain. There's
It's
a
a little
little bit more
different to me right
constricted.
now. Yeah.
A little, right? That I could go like, oh, wow, wow, how fascinating that there's this uh limitingness on in Tina's cognition that doesn't have to, that doesn't have to be there.
Yeah, it's
And
really
then, sorry, one last bit. What Vicky talked about, letting things come. I know, so I was like, oh, but you're wanting to like, don't have that limiting belief, but really I could kind of let it come. And
yes,
that helped. Does that make sense?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's good you bring this forth because I think maybe at first there is maybe it feels a little different. Oh, I feel kind of that boundless softness of like the spacious openness, and then I feel a little different with appearance, right? Whatever appears in my mind. But ultimately, I think that is still a little bit of a witness agency that kind of wants to immediately put a little bit of a colored label on different experiences, including the difference between the open awareness and whatever appears. So this is really playing with subtle stuff here. But then I think ultimately we realize, oh yeah, of course, it's all the same awakened awareness. And then that's why at one point I also said everything that arises, the thoughts, feelings, emotions, sights, and sounds, are all the fabric of awareness. So ultimately, that's where the sameness actually arises, right? Okay.
Yeah. No, thank you. No, I mean, to me, it was almost the reverse, like the knowing I'm witnessing some imaginary ocean felt soft and easy because that I'm recognizing it's my witness. I'm used to that and I feel like good about that. It's easy. So it's like, oh yeah, there's ever so slight, it's all, I mean, what pride might feel like in your body, but subtler than that, right?
So I think maybe so then we use an object to realize I'm aware of this object, and the object right now was a creation of our mind, right?
Right, right.
And then maybe it would be better at first to start with an actual object in our environment, which are considered, but I realized some people had their eyes closed. So I didn't. Today I didn't want to say, "Hey, everybody, open their eyes." Sometimes we do it, but so you can play with that in your practice. You can first start with an object and then an internal object. So these are like the integration practices that we do, right? It's like, oh yeah, here I'm just gonna whatever. So this is the habituation of having that sameness arise in every moment of our lives.
Yeah. No, I didn't have a problem with rec with conjuring an ocean or recognizing that I was
Yeah. But,
doing that. Is that what you mean? What's the purpose of having it be a literal object
oh, it's just I
to
think
start?
for someone you're starting with that maybe an imaginary object is a little bit more fleeting or something. I don't. Of course, that's why it came up because, of course, I was reading about this practice at some point, and when the point, then you actually start with an object,
Hmm,
and then
I
so
didn't.
it's, well, I mean, with the physical object, of course, because
Yeah.
imaginary ultimately no difference in one taste and la la la. But here in the world, things get a little more distinct, and then we get trapped a little bit in distinctions. And then one of your subtle distinction was a little bit of pride, like I got this, and which is really great. Oh, so that's one. Just then we realize that this kind of your witness or your metacognitive capacity going like yes, everything cool here, right? Which is great. I mean, really, welcome, welcome. Because that's a really sweet arising of it. Because the other side is like, I can't do this, right? Or any limiting belief. So that's actually it's a positive belief, but any belief is a bit limiting in the long run, right? So whatever, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. I think I saw Nathan leaning forward at exactly the same time as me. So I'm sorry if I cut you off, Nathan.
No, not at all. I was just a true shift, not a lean to chat. So
I got something, but I don't really know how to explain it, so it'll just unfold. Is yin and yang. And I was looking at Mel's face. And I realized that symbolized yin and yang. Mel, you're in union, buddy. Non-dual. It's interwoven. darkness and light. That's the purpose of this whole, my purpose in meditation. Let the objects come and go, but more than that, they're light. There's light in the darkness, but it gets interwoven. So, hey, way to go, Mel. That's just showing you it's working. Your life is the meditation and it's working for all of us too, because yin and yang is a literal so-called complementary forces that in our minds get joined within this subtle energy field, don't they, Timo? Yin and yang, gotta get it
I was
on.
thinking it looked like a Vajra, and he was like lightning boy, you know, he's got the Vajra on the side of his face there. Georgie.
Everybody leave Mel alone right now. Mr. Courageous appearing here with his face.
Yes, yes, courageous. Yes. Yes, indeed. Most people would just not do that. This is being one with what shows up in our family. Yeah.
I'm sure I'm happy you're not in pain with it, Mel, with that specific thing.
Thank you. You know, which it's interesting. I've been hesitant to own this. So, but what Glenda said now brings it out of me, and that is that I've been spending a lot. I mean, my whole practice now is nature of mind awareness practice. You know, and it's all about resting in pure awareness as much of the time as I can. And so last Wednesday night, after I fell, I had a lot of pain. And it was about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening. I fell off the back of our deck. And I had a lot of pain, but I thought maybe it was. I knew I didn't have a concussion. I didn't lose consciousness, but I thought maybe it's possible I got a little hairline fracture or something. But we decided not to go to the emergency room that night, and I went to bed in a lot of pain, and I was unable, with all the pain and all the stuff going on. Should I do this? Should I do that? I was unable to rest in awareness, as is my practice when I go to bed. I woke up the next morning and the pain was gone, and I was able to rest in awareness. And I'm wondering whether, I don't want to get too carried away here, but that whether my Buddhist practice has allowed me to be apart from that pain.
Oh, if you are wondering, let me give you the answer. Yes. Of course it is. You know, there it is. That's the beauty of our practice. It starts showing up in those moments, and there it is. And since we're talking about that, you're saying your practice is like mostly awareness practice. So how is that manifesting? Like, you know, here's one example that it happened, that you realize that it's liberating you from having this traumatic experience and its repercussions. How else is it manifesting in your life? It's not just practice, right? It's kind of getting an automaticity in like in this moment. So how does it happen more in the regular flow of life?
You know, more and more I'm able to say to myself, oh, I'm reading now. Well, let me read in pure awareness, or I'm watching this, or I'm listening to this music, or, you know, whatever. And when I do that, I start to think, oh, is this how people who are just very good at concentrating do? You know, maybe they have a touch of this, you know, because I can feel music, I can absorb words so much better when I'm in that state. Interestingly, the thing that caused some discussion before, you're asking us to visualize, when you first asked us to visualize the ocean, I went, oh, I'm in kind of pure awareness now. And he's asking me to actually do something, that maybe disturbs that pure awareness. But okay, I did it. And somehow my visualizing the ocean was smaller than it would have been. It didn't take my whole consciousness. It was like an image over here of an ocean. And then when you asked us to recognize that was that we were recognizing, it was much easier because it was just this little.
Right. Because she's so much more than any experience that arises. So that's the experience in that moment. And so and then when you said something like that you okay. So number one, like you said, you're reading and have activities in which you deliberately kind of set the view, which is what we do sometimes. It starts going by itself, but then I'm reading, and then sometimes I get a little myopic and I'm like in the book, but not, you keep it open. But then you said you were wondering if that is the same, that people that have good concentration have that experience. Up to a point, it has like people that it has a component of non-distraction, but people that can concentrate is like a laser beam, while you are, you open up into a more open, awakeful awareness, which is kind of boundless, like you describe it. It's small. So you're reading the book, the book and the story are here, and then yet you way around it, while somebody is concentrating, is completely in the book and gets completely seduced by whatever the book and the resulting thought patterns that arise. They're completely confined by that, and you are not, if you're in open awakened awareness. So notice that's a difference. And then of course whatever arises has normal seductive qualities, so it's not as roller coaster, like it's like we are actually, so some people will at first sometimes feel like I prefer to really believe the story, therefore I can feel the dynamic of the emotional fluctuations of the story more vividly. But that's exactly that which we are trying to free ourselves from. And so yes, things appear to be less vivid at first. The story is not as emotional, but ultimately everything becomes more luminous and vivid from a larger perspective. Painting a little bit with watercolors, you elaborate on that in your own hearts and minds.
And as you pointed out, as I'm reading, I'm aware of the feel of the chair on my thighs, and et cetera, et cetera. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Right. And then so and then this, after the more you become aware, more awakened, say, then there is a more sorry, one moment, I lost a little bit. Things arise more orderly, right? It's not they don't everything is still arising kind of the same way, but in a way things become experienced more orderly. It's like one at a time. It's like there it is. So yes, there is of course the all at onceness of it, but there's a tendency for when in awakened awareness for the arising of whatever of primordial wisdom, because everything is the arise of primordial wisdom, to be more orderly and not this collage of craziness, right? So that's something you can maybe pay attention to. If things appear more orderly in the way they arise in your mind, that's a direct Mahamudra instruction or comment. And I can hear that it's a bit limiting the way I'm saying it right now. So because there's so that's all I have to say. I just wanted you to hear it, and then whatever comes from it in your practice or not.
I would like you to make an album called Collage of Craziness, because I think that would be really interesting, Mr. Musician.
You mean music?
Well, I mean, it just popped as I don't know. That was a great metaphor. I love that.
That's basically the mind that is not shining within the view is
Right.
a collage of
Samsara.
craziness for sure. Yeah, right.
Samsara. Yeah.
So we kind of got to the time we usually stop. Does somebody have something that you wish to share and you were holding back? Okay, then. So have a beautiful day, and we'll be with you here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Timo. Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.